I'm Vinny Searcy, and I'm a clinical educator. I've worked in both suburban and urban schools for over 15 years as a school adjustment counselor, school psychologist, and special education administrator. If we can work with you to help improve the classroom setting and include their ability to access the curriculum, then they're going to do better on the standardized tests and the high-stakes testing that's so important in schools today. This is going to help you, help the administrator, and help your school system. But most importantly, it's going to help the student.
It makes me feel like the test's scary. The test is scary, and when I think that test is scary, it makes me remember things that are scary at my house.
Anxious kids often have experienced some kind of trauma in their background, and trauma is different for each person. But be aware of things like when you talk about the death of somebody, the loss of a grandparent, or in a story that you're talking about neighborhood violence, that these could be triggers for the anxious student if this is also fueled by trauma.
Stepdad was drinking too much, and my mom was holding my baby sister, and he pushed both of them downstairs, and I thought they were both going to die, and then it would be just me and my stepdad, and he's kind of mean, so I wouldn't like that. It's really scary.
There are a lot of emotional minefields out there when working with these kids. You're going to step on a few. It's okay. Just remember to go back, work with the student, work with their mental health professional, and develop some interventions that might help you the next time. You're going to get through it, they're going to get through it, and that is a learning experience. But again, be aware that certain topics could be difficult.
A lot of my peers didn't realize that I was having a problem and would tease me about it. And things that otherwise wouldn't be a big deal, like, oh, you're always late to class, or you always seem upset, but not in a concerned kind of way, just kind of, pushing.
Obviously, you want to try to reduce unnecessary stress. Probably the most important piece of this particular kind of intervention is to be aware of bullying. Kids that are anxious are often targets by their very behavior sometimes, and because they're easy marks. Sometimes they're overly aware of how other kids are behaving, and so feel more victimized than maybe you would see. Take this serious, talk to them, talk to the person they're accusing, make sure your administrator is aware, and try to do whatever you can to reduce that negative social interaction.
I'm so nervous about the girls who bully me at school that I feel way too sick to go to school, and I just can't go. My mom tries to make me, but I just feel way too nauseous and weird that I just can't go.
An anxious student, in reaction to a bully, you may not see the bullying behavior, and because the anxious student is particularly sensitive to social issues or put-downs, what you may see is the anxious kid actually retaliating, usually verbally, but sometimes physically, and that's what you have to understand, that you may have to look beyond the actual physical intervention or the physical altercation, and then come back and say, well, what drove this?
It's like, hey, what's up with you? And they're not realizing that I have an issue that they're making worse. They're just trying to make a joke. And what they don't realize is that a joke is a joke when I'm feeling normal, but when I'm anxious, a joke could be, you should kill yourself, or you're terrible. It'll just contribute to that voice inside my head that'll tell me anything that I don't want to hear.
anxious students, especially younger anxious students, have a very hard time understanding what's happening and putting it to words.
And a lot of times with the students that I have, because they're young, we're at the point of you're not feeling, you feel, or you help them identify, and it's usually a visual, like 3 or 4, like series of, calm, and then you're escalating to identify where they are and what is going to help them make them feel better. And at first you're teaching them, this is how you feel, or this is how you look right now, this is what you need. And hopefully they can carry that over. Yeah.
All right. Remember, for all of us, anxiety creates an instinctive urge to fight, run, or freeze. Anxious students often complain that the school environment is not very tolerant of their need to just simply get away from the situation for a few minutes to compose themselves. The positive behavioral support plan should always include a provision for being able to take a self-directed time out.
Whenever possible, try to work with the student to find out what kinds of activities are calming for them. So when they're experiencing anxiety or stress, you can allow them to go do that. Things such as silent reading, taking a walk, moving to a different area, getting a drink. Those kinds of things can be easily done and helpful in managing the student's anxiety.
I think helping them get their mind off what is getting them upset is important. In my classroom, I created a sensory area that has worked perfectly because I send them to that area when I see that they're getting anxious or when I see that they're about to get really upset about something. And it takes their mind off being mad. They don't just go to a corner and sit there by themselves. They have to make a choice, and they follow through with it. They have a time limit in that area, and it can be anything like Connects or Play-Doh. And it just takes their mind off being mad. And you can go back to the whole conversation of what was bothering you after they calm down a little bit and they're reasonable in their conversation. But I do think that having that outlet works really well with them.
I know one of your questions is going to be, well, am I going to let them disrupt my class? How many times do I let them get a break? How many times do I let them get a drink? Well, again, depending on the student, it could be a few times that are set up, or it could be as needed. You need to know your students. You need to build a relationship. You need to talk to them about whether or not this is going to be disruptive, how it could be useful for them, but not interrupt what you're trying to accomplish.